Hello everyone. Thank you for watching this video in which I will explain how to install a cassette on a Shimano HG, XDR, Campagnolo, or micro spline body.
First I will show the 4 different bodies and cassettes. On the far left we have Sram. They install an XD or an XDR body. Next you have an HG body from Shimano where you can install an HG cassette. After that you have a micro spline body from Shimano. These are used with the mountain mic. Finally you have a Campagnolo body and cassettes.
First, we'll look at the Shimano HG body. What do you need to do this? A chain whip and a cassette? The cassette removal tool must be from Shimano or Let's start. Place the chain whip over the lightest tooth of the cassette with the arm facing left, right for the viewers. Then, insert the cassette removal tool from the front. When you now apply a lot of force evenly, you will notice the cassette release. You unscrew the release ring from the body. Subscribe to my channel for more fun videos. When we now look at the cassette and the body, you will see that the cassette has a special shape on the inside. Just like on the body, you will see that one part of the body has a larger space. So the cassette can be installed only one way. I always position this larger piece towards the front so I know where it is. The cassette can't be installed incorrectly, otherwise it simply won't fit. You slide all the cogs over it one by one until you reach the lock ring. This is an ultra-light cassette, but you could easily have a round 5, an expensive cassette, or another Shimano cassette. The way you install it always remains the same. Always make sure you write everything down correctly. Don't forget anything about an extra ring. The cassette should always be installed as it was delivered. Next, we come to the lock ring. This is often installed incorrectly. Make sure it's properly seated. It should fit completely. Finally, we take the lock ring. We apply a tiny bit of grease to it so it slides easily into the threads of the body. You simply screw it in. Next, you place the wheel on the ground or place a clamp between your legs. And tighten the cassette properly. So you need to make sure that the cassette can also be removed later, but of course that it also does not come loose. My feeling is always push through well once and it is securely fastened. Next, we move on to the
Shram
body where an XDR cassette is installed. What do you need to be able to remove the cassette? You need a chain sweep and a Shimano
Shram
cassette remover. When we are going to remove the cassette from the shield, it is very important that we place the chain whip over one of the lightest translations of the cassette. Then you place the cassette remover at the front of the cassette. The larger the arm, the easier it is to loosen the cassette. Keep turning until the cassette is loose from the body. The thread is on the outside of the body. You have 3 different cassettes: race, gravel and mountain mic. Gravel and race must be done on an XDR body. A mountain mic must be put on an XD body. If we now look at how the Razor cassette works, inside the cassette there is a loose bushing. You screw this loose bushing into the body and that is how you put the cassettes on your wheel. This is the same with red, gravel and mountain bike. The cassettes also consist of one piece, so you cannot replace individual cogs. On the cassette itself, all the notches are the same. This means that the cassette can be screwed on in all ways. Then you put some grease on the outside of the body, on the thread or on the inside of the cassette. You mount the cassette over the body. You make sure you press it down well. When it cannot go any further, you take the cassette hub remover and tighten the cassette into the body. Then I put the wheel on the ground for a moment. I tighten it very firmly by pushing my arm down as far as possible and applying as much force as possible to secure the cassette. Keep in mind that the cassette will eventually need to be loosened. So, tight really means tight. You check that the cassette runs straight and that you've properly disassembled and reassembled it. Next, we move on to the new N3W Campagnolo body. What do you need? A chain whip and a Campagnolo cassette hub tool. To start, place the chain whip on the right side for you, and on the left side for me, over the lowest cog of the cassette. Take the cassette hub tool. Place it on the cassette lock ring. Then, place it opposite the chain whip and completely loosen the lock ring. When we look at the new 13-speed Campagnolo cassettes, they're different from the old ones. In the past, you always had a single lock ring. In this case, you have 3 cogs, making the body smaller. They've changed this to an N3 wheel. This allows for heavier cassettes, such as a 9-tooth cassette, to be installed. When we compare the old body with the new one, you'll see that it's simply shorter, because it allows for heavier cogs. If you buy a wheel set now, it's better to go for a new body, as there are adapters to fill this gap. There's a separate recess on the body. Campagnolo also only installs the cassette one way. That means putting all the cogs in exactly the right place. You really can't do it wrong. You just have to slide on the correct cogs. So always check that the cogs fit properly. If they slide on automatically, it means you've done it right. In the meantime, you can always boost my channel or subscribe to help it grow and reach even more people. Thanks in advance. When we get to the last 3 sprockets, there's only one way to install them. It's crucial that they're installed correctly, and they're often installed incorrectly. This can damage the body because the lock ring is screwed in incorrectly, causing the cassette to wobble, and of course, the chain won't run smoothly. Take the lock ring and apply some grease to it so you can thread it into the body. Screw it in by hand. Take the cassette remover and tighten it. Then place the wheel on the ground and apply a lot of force to secure the cassette. Tight is tight. It shouldn't come loose, but you should be able to loosen it again. Check one more time that all the crosses are properly in place and that the cassette is running smoothly, and then you've done a great job. Finally, we'll install the mountain micro cassettes onto a Shimano Micro Spline body. What do you need for this? A chain sweep, a Baco and a new tool to install a 945 on the new Shimano cassettes. This tool is the TLLR021. First, slide the TL021 onto the cassette's lock ring. Then, take the chain whip and place it on one of the cassette's largest teeth, and then grab the baco. Make sure the tool is properly inserted and apply force to loosen the lock ring. In the meantime, you can always subscribe to my channel, so be sure to do so. Then, unscrew the lock ring completely from the body, and you can disassemble the cassettes. Now, if we look at the cassettes, there are two different 12-speed mountain bike cassettes that fit Shimano's micro spline bodies. You can see the difference. I've placed both cassettes side by side. On the left is the 945 and on the right is the 1045. The new cassettes have a 945. This means you need to use a different tool than with the current 1045, where you can simply remove a chain. As you can see on the body, it's essentially the same everywhere except for one point. There's a large spacer between them, meaning the cassette can only be installed one way. You look for the larger spacer and slide the cassette over it at that point. You do this with all the crunches and washers, making sure everything is installed correctly. In both cases, it's either 1045 or 9.45. As you can see, I don't apply any grease to the body. Some people do. Everyone has their own preference. We don't consider it strictly necessary. When you get to the end, you'll see the difference between the two cassettes. In this case, we're going to fully install the 945. The last cog of the cassette is on the lock ring. This one can't be removed, and you can only install it one way. There's a larger recess here as well. It only goes on the cassette one way, and you have to do it correctly. Never tighten the cassette if the last ring isn't properly installed. You might break the body, or you might be cycling and it will come loose. So always make sure it's properly installed. Always apply a small amount of grease to the lock ring. This will make it easier to insert. Then, take the LR021 again and tighten the lock ring as far as possible by hand. Then, take the baco again and tighten the lock ring all the way until the cassette can't come loose. Finally, I'll show you how to tighten a 1045. This is simply how to remove a Shimano cassette, the old-fashioned way. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for future videos.